Hey everyone, welcome back to the Heroes World Quarantine podcast. I am here with John and Andre, the proprietors and owners of Heroes World located in Markham. And of course, the Prince of Mischief himself, Rob Gadet.
Hey, how are you?
Thank you all for joining us on whichever medium you decide to subscribe, whether it's iTunes or Spotify or on YouTube. We appreciate you guys' constant support, and as everyone does on these type of things, like, subscribe, smash that button, bells, yada, yada, yada. So thank you so much. Of course, if this is the first time you're listening to the podcast, this is a podcast where we talk about comic book stuff, pop culture, geek stuff. Typically, these are the conversations we'd have in the store, but we're recording them and pushing them out on the internet for your enjoyment based on these weird and darkest of timelines. So here we go. Today, we're going to do two type of topics today, which is DC Fandome Part 2. We're going to go on a little bit of that, and then we are going to do a mixed bag, which is a new segment of random topics I will throw out to the group. They kind of already know what's coming, but they don't. So this will be fun. So here we go. Depending on when you listen to this, DC Fandome or Dome or
Dome.
Fandome.
I left the E off for the longest time. I was like, this is Fandome, right?
Fandome. They're domes.
Dome.
Dropped on Saturday. This was kind of part 2, of course, of the fandom experience that DC...
The leftovers.
Yeah, I would say that. Originally, they, for those who want historical context, it was one giant event that they wanted to do. They encouraged people to sign up to the panels to figure out numbers. And no surprise, they found that no one was attending these particular panels and only wanted to attend the movies. So they decided...
How can you go up? How can you have, like, Legends of Tomorrow squaring off against the theatrical version of Suicide Squad at the same time? What would you choose? So it's obvious that's why they had to split it up into 2 events.
So yes, they split up in 2 events just to continue the buzz. And let's just say no, it was not no.
Solid effort. They gave away some cool stuff.
Cool?
They gave away that new Superman animated thing. You can watch.
Anyways, we'll get it. Honestly, John, this is like a trick or treat bag where you open it. Like, this is great. It's a trick or treat. Like, it's like a loot bag, but in the loot bag is like
candies or Tootsie
like
Rolls,
old like Hubba Bubba gum, and you're like, oh, and a toy plastic gun that breaks very quickly, and you're like a couple elastic bands. It's like, it's great to get a loot bag, but this loot bag is trash.
Box of raisins.
So yeah, we've just learned that Stu got invited to the worst birthday parties ever.
Yeah, these are not good loot bags. So anyways, the loot bag itself was awesome. We're like, oh, all this great stuff, and womp womp. So yeah, we're going to talk about a little bit about it today. This was a different experience because Fandom Part 1 was a huge live stream happening all at the same time to generate buzz, to kind of get to the internet, everyone talking at the same time. So whether it was trailer drops or you know, whether it was Suicide Squad or Batman, everything was at once. This was kind of what they envisioned, which was you could walk the hallways and visit each dome to see different experiences. And
they had like the different worlds, right? And you just click on each different world. I found it very confusing.
You're wandering the labyrinth of DC and you're like, no, thank you. So you can wander and see the panels, whether it was The Flash, Supergirl, Batwoman, Legends of Tomorrow, a couple other, you know, as Rob's favorite show, Pennyworth. These are things that you could do. So these are in no particular order, but I'll go through it and get everyone's thoughts as we go through the DC fandom that was. So first thing I want to talk about, and I think we missed it the first time. It was interesting that, I don't know if you noticed it, the weird State Farm integration that happened in the last fandom and this fandom, where that guy in the commercials, I never noticed it, was just there asking fan questions and just kind of around. And I'm like, that's interesting. Did you notice the guy from the Chris Paul commercials in the, you know, fandom experiences asking about like product integration questions?
No,
I don't have cable, so.
I think part of the reason is because I felt like the first Fandome was a much more immersive experience and probably lent to that guy's inclusion. This one, it was weird. I mean,
John sent me a text because I was, running my daughter's birthday thing, and he's like, "Yo, everything's online." Like the first Fandome, you literally had to schedule, and it was a live stream that you had to like.
They still had that schedule button on there.
They did, but
I wonder what it did.
Because the entire day was dropped online, so you could go into anything you wanted at any time and watch it. So I think I didn't notice any inclusion of this because I just got to pick and choose as opposed to having a live stream running all day long.
So I'm assuming you guys, John, let the cat out of the bag when he said he was a confusing experience. Rob, did you enjoy this compared to the everything dropped at one point in time and we all shared the experience of, seeing all the trailers?
It's a really interesting question because I really enjoyed the movie experience because I think I like watching some of the DC shows, but I felt like it was like a Comic-Con I've never been to. We've talked about this before. Andre had been to San Diego in the past. I felt like I was inclusive and part of this Hall H day-long presentation. And on this one, it was more of like an a la carte. I was like, okay, I do want to know about the Three Jokers stuff with Fabok and Johns. And yeah, sure, I'll watch the Watchmen thing. I can kind of do it on my own. So I think there were some benefits to it. I think when it came to the comics and television aspect, I think I'm happy that it was an a la carte that I can go in whenever I wanted. But when it came to the movies and the big stuff, I was really happy. I got the best experience with the August 12th or whatever Fandom experience. So it's a difficult question to answer. I think I probably prefer the day long thing, but I'm happy with. I think I would have been really pissed if I had to sit on a day long stream and coming in and out just for what we came for the second
given
part.
This content.
The content does not match having as a day-long stream.
Andre, as you are a man who works in a store and owns a store, you don't have the opportunity to, like Rob and myself, have a mimosa and sit next to a pool and watch all these trailers drop one by one. So what is your thoughts on this type of experience? Although I'm sure that watching at your leisure matches your lifestyle because you can't always see because you're helping people with selections and customers. But do you which one do you prefer?
I would, to be honest with you, I prefer the format that we got yesterday only because it is more accommodating. There's people all over the world, and if you can just watch it whenever you want to as opposed to trying to catch it like live, because most of that live stuff I waited until it was on YouTube or whatever after anyways, right? I think that though, unfortunately, with them splitting it up, it's just the realization of the content that came in the previous part was just more mass appeal. But that's basically in a nutshell what comics are up against and TV shows are up against compared to the silver screen versions of these superheroes. And I just think it's actually too bad that people weren't as excited to tune in, because guess what? Like when they talked to, one of the things I really liked about this version was they did DC around the world, and they talked to different artists, who are drawing DC comics or have origins from all parts of different of the world. And that was really interesting. And it was really cool to see how some of those artists talk about how they got into comics, how they broke in, who their inspirations were, and what their drawing technique was. And guess what? We don't get comic content without these creators. So it sucks that people are like, oh, I want to just see, or I'm super excited for, Jason Momoa as Aquaman and Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman and the Suicide Squad movie, that's the driving force. But how would DC have done it if they tried to integrate both of these? Like, could you imagine if they said, here's Suicide Squad, and then here's an hour of artist content, and then you come back for the Batman? People would have just left anyways, right? So it's the dilemma that Hall H is packed at San Diego, and maybe Hall J and K are half empty because they're talking about whatever.
Oh, they're full. And other panels are full because people want to sit down after standing in for 3 hours.
No, but you know what I mean? You go to a con, there's panels that are great. that are empty because there's something else going on or something else just finished that was the A-lister. And that's just the truth. I will again affirm that I think what DC put together for this is lights a fire under the ass of every other comic company, especially Marvel, to do something of the same caliber. This was huge. You know, and it was diverse, and it was deep, and it was well produced. So like, you know, props to them, no matter if this second half wasn't as popular as the first half. But again, that's a scheduling thing. Like you know, earlier on, well, not earlier on, it's been like 6 months now, we did the Be a Heroes online thing. And we tried to schedule 12 hours of content rolling in, and more people tuned in for the big names then. So I know exactly how they feel for that. And I also know the struggle of scheduling that and trying to get, you know, A-listers, you know, to fill a time slot, and also to say, yeah, how long do you need? Half an hour, 45 minutes, 15 minutes? What can we get, you know? And we were fortunate enough on that day to have Neil Gaiman come on, you know, bright and early. And I think, of course, that was the video that got the most live views and rewatches and stuff. So I get it, you know, but it doesn't take away from the overall, I would call it, success of the event. And just, you know, again, they did it with all of their stuff, movies, televisions, comics, video games, cartoons, you know, like, come on, like, you know, step up now. Like, hey, if you know, you've seen what DC's done, can you do it better?
All right, perfect. So sorry, I wanted to give John an opportunity to give his thoughts, but Rob, if you have a quick point, go.
I'll wait till John's done.
John's been waiting patiently in his fandom. So yeah.
He looks like he's being sucked into a vortex for those who are listening online.
Honestly, John's trying to escape
like
the
Flash.
fandom. He's trying to escape the fandom because he's been there way too long.
Martha.
Looks like a digital butthole, but go on, John.
Oh God! All right, now I got to change it. Anyways, yeah, I think yeah, what Andre and Rob are saying, how it was presented, given the content we got, I think it was a good way to present it. I was pretty confused, like the different, like I waited for the timer to go down. I was at the store and I'm like, oh, I'll turn on the stream and put the thing on, and then all of a sudden, just all the videos popped up, and then there were these different worlds, like Watchverse, Insiderverse, Uverse. I'm like, what does this mean? I don't get it. Other than Kidsverse, I'm like, I guess this is kids content. I was like, I don't know what to watch, right? So I thought that was kind of confusing. Yeah, but no, you scroll through and you're like, what's hot, right? Or what should I watch, or what's the big reveal, right? So I feel like they should have maybe used YouTube. YouTube is like the platform for this type of stuff. I don't know why they didn't cooperate with YouTube and they wanted to do their own thing. Like, there was no hit counters, no like comments on videos or anything like that. So there was nothing you could really do other than stream it on their thing, and then it didn't resume. If you went away and came back, it wouldn't resume your video and stuff like that. So I thought, like, oh, I guess they wanted to cut YouTube out and stream it all on their own thing.
But to be fair, they also had many technical issues as well. They had to, you know,
I think it went down at one point.
Yeah, about the Riddler doing this. I'm like, really?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, but it's cool. They still had the link for the store. They have a search button at the top.
Yeah.
And you could view all and see all the videos. Some of them didn't have thumbnails, so you just see a bunch of people for the panel, and you're like, what is this about? But I think Andre makes a good point. Like, he's talking about how they did Be Heroes live. I would have liked to see a live portion of this event. Everything was pre-recorded. You could see it was very well rehearsed, and all the videos are edited, even though they look like live videos. So it would have been nice to see, you know, Jim Lee and maybe some of the stars having some live interactions, and hopefully showing that they actually know each other, or, you know, like, are happy to work together instead of everything kind of looking so rehearsed. But yeah, those are my thoughts on it. Overall, I think it's still very cool,
John, because the panels, like, the live ones are fun, but we talked before, like, the time of people walking on stage and coming off stage, that eats up.
Oh yeah. I'm not saying do the whole thing live. Like, it would have been nice at least each event to have like one live event that everyone tunes in. So like the benefit of the first event is, like, the Batman trailer gets revealed, everyone's watching it at the same time, and your phone or Facebook or whatever blows up, so you all talk about it at once. So this one, it feels like, yeah.
Yeah, after watching the Dune panel, like with Colbert hosting, and I'm like, oh, this blows away everything that happened yesterday. Like that Dune 14-minute, like with all the actors, happened 3 days ago on YouTube, and that panel already crushed everything that happened at the DC Fandome.
Yeah, like, but that's not a fair. That's not a fair.
But I get it. It's like, but you could get like
drop. It's like literally some of like the ensemble cast of it was just incredible, and then you have Colbert. Like that's not a fair comparison. Like, you know what? If a fair comparison would have been like, oh, they dropped the Batman trailer and the Dune trailer, and the same guy. What's the director's name?
Denis Villeneuve
for Batman.
Oh, no, Matt Reeves.
Matt Reeves.
So Matt Reeves. Could you imagine if Matt Reeves is talking to Batman what he did, and then these guys were talking Dune? I bet you.
But even if I compare it to the other, like, let's talk about Fandom 1. That Dune thing still blew away everything that happened on Fandom 1. Like, just because, again, you pick the right person who has passion for it. Because Colbert, whether it's Lord of the Rings or Dune, like, he's just like, he knows stuff and he's passionate and he asks thoughtful questions. And there's the interactions of that of like, oh, this is it. But to your point, Andre,
I think there's an element, a chemistry that happens when they know they're live and there's one take. Yeah, and that's it. You know.
Well, but even the laughter, that the camaraderie, the laughter of the group, like it felt genuine watching the Dune panel that compared to watching any of the DC ones. I'm like, do you guys like each other at all? Like,
well, let me ask though, do you think that we are maybe a little bit hard on part 2 because it was such a buildup and momentum to the first one? Would this not have served better if it had been like a proper San Diego Comic-Con where this was unveiled over the entire weekend, where Fandome was Saturday and Sunday, or Friday, Saturday, Sunday? You do the comics on the one day, you got Saturdays, you're going to do your movies, and the Sunday is a television show. Or like, do you think it would have served better? Because I kind of feel that, admittedly, we were all kind of hyped for part 1. And because everything that was coming out, we were excited for it. It was the summertime still. And now even though it's 4 weeks later, the wind has somewhat been removed from the sails, right? So do you think that also that they missed properly unveiling or unfurling this over an entire weekend? Do you think it would have made things better?
Definitely. I think if they just did what the last Saturday was, and if this was the Sunday right after, I think more people would have tuned in, because they would have been like, oh, I don't want to miss anything. And some people might have said, oh, I missed the hype that was Saturday, let me check out the Sunday. And you're right, that 4 week in between, and now people got a lot of different things on their mind. People are getting ready for back to school. There's all the rising in the cases of corona, like all over the world. There's all this stupid stuff that's going on in the US, with the politics there and the chatter back and forth, right? So I think people are their attention span is split. So if we had gotten this 4 weeks earlier, even if it was like one big 48-hour event, and that would have been a colossal thing. People would be like, wow, they did it. Even though the first 12 hours were better, or the first 24 hours were better, 48 hours of this type of content would have been just damn impressive.
But to your point,
I do think,
Andre,
though, make no mistake, we will see DC Fandome come back next year, and I have a funny feeling that they will build upon what they've done. I mean, Stu said it before, and we've all complimented them the last time we talked about this. It was an amazing feat of what they've done, and Andre said it today. Unbelievable. Amazing. Even part 2, for what it was amazing. But we all know this is coming back. We'll see DC Fandome next year, and maybe they'll learn from what they've done. Maybe it will be one big weekend.
They will have to learn, because frankly, to your points before, they underestimated the type of stuff they're dropping on these second panel of TV shows. Like, we'll talk about it momentarily, but nothing there was interesting at all. That you're like, oh, this is fun, or any type of buzzworthy material. So I think that next time they'll be better prepared, whether they'll have the stuff ready of pictures or concept art or something, because frankly, everything they talked about, which we'll get to momentarily, is just concepts. Not even just like, here's an idea, but here's a tease. So nothing really was there. But
I think, unfortunately, you're absolutely right. And let's face it, like, some of these people were streaming from or recording from their bedrooms, and look.
Yeah, I think when they're physically together, the chemistry will be more.
It'll be better. But also too, a lot of the stuff that they talked about for the TV shows, they haven't done anything yet. They're in quarantine. So without them spoiling like reading a script, you know, there was nothing for them to show. We can't hold that
Which they
against
did.
them, right? You know, so like I think, you know,
Good point.
I'm super critical and stuff, but sometimes you have to judge them on what was available for them to do. And I think they did the best they could with what they had available to them, and stuff. And I think you can't knock them because, you know, we're in a basically 6 months of nothing got done with actors. Like now some places are opening back up and shooting stuff or whatever, but it's very small. Like, hey, even the Batman got shut down because Pattinson's got COVID, so they're shooting
Yeah, but
other
Andre,
stuff.
you could
So
pivot. You can get Boss Logic to at least draw the people in costumes like they did in the other panel. Like, why couldn't they do that for the?
but
Like, you
again,
couldn't commission him to draw one of the Arrowverse people in like a new uniform or costume and be like, here's something.
they could have done more, but like I said, maybe again we don't know the extent of the time that they would have had to do this, but also like I got a little bit of insider stuff in that our good friend of our store, Ken Lashley, if you follow him on his Facebook and stuff, like he posted that DC sent him a top secret package of stuff that he had to use to record this thing. So could you imagine sending out those packages to all the people that you want to present with all whatever the equipment is, and then having that sent back, and it's top secret and stuff. So yeah, might have just been a lot of logistics. Maybe next time they would say, oh, okay, we didn't realize that it would be so dry without
let's move it along, because frankly we're rolling into this DC like, nice try. Like, I think we clearly understand that this was their first attempt. We acknowledge that it was done, you know, the best of their abilities. They underestimated a lot of things, and they'll get better the next time. But so we're good there. Let's continue on. In terms of, you know, Jim Lee is a little more present this time around, just kind of around the panels. Thoughts on him kind of floating around outside? And the elephant in the room is the elephant in the room, being that this was all filmed and recorded before, you know, Ragnarok happened. But let's, you know, what was your kind of thoughts on Jim Lee kind of doing his thing? At least he's more pronounced here, because I guess they needed this quote unquote, as Andre said, star power. So Rob, thoughts on Jim Lee?
You know, I don't know. Listen, I'm a fan of Jim Lee. I think he's a real personable guy. He's the face of DC Comics. He did a great job. You know, we'll talk about it at some point, but his panel with Superman and Lois, he was fine. You know, he got them to draw the crest, the Superman crest, the shield, and you know, he was fine. I have no opinions either way. Yeah, it was good seeing him, but I think it is, you know, like we said, I know that he might have recorded a couple of things post Bloodbath for this special, but you know, whatever. I'm neutral on Jim Lee's, you know, appearance and how he did in this fandom. So,
John,
next.
I liked seeing him on the interviews. I thought it's good that he's like comfortable being the face of DC for this type of event. I don't remember if he was as in the interviews for DC Fandom Part 1, but for this one, I felt like he was.
He was in a few.
He was being interviewed in those ones as opposed to moderating.
Yeah.
Right?
So I guess they flipped it, or he was supposed to. I guess if it was all supposed to be together, he was just supposed to be in there throughout. So I like seeing more of him. Like Todd McFarlane's really getting in the video game and stuff like that. So I like seeing these old school creators that we grew up with, and especially if he's running a lot of the things at DC still and things like that. I definitely want to see his face on the screen and him talking about it. I watched the video with him and Venus Williams, and that was kind of cute. He drew a picture of her as a superhero, and it's like available. You can see it fully colored and stuff. It looks pretty wild. So hopefully maybe they actually do it or something like that. That'd be kind of cool.
Andre, quick thoughts?
Yeah, I honestly think it's good. Like, you know, it definitely shows a shift in like we've talked about the figurehead of DC. Like, you know, before Jim was like, he's now the spokesperson. You know, he's the face of the brand, and I like that because he's such a creative force. Maybe he was a little bit out of his element, you know, doing some of the hosting stuff. I think he could have asked some better questions and stuff. But again, he might have just been tossed into this role. But I think it's really cool because look, Jim's a genuine comic guy. And before, like, look at Marvel, when Joe Quesada was editor-in-chief, he was everywhere. You know what I mean? He was the face of Marvel for all those years, and he was out doing the talks and stuff like that. So I think Jim Lee, he's got the knowledge, he's got the passion, and you know, I don't think there's really anybody else that you want to have that has a positive view of DC and that is instantly recognizable. Like, who else could you? Sure, there's Jeff Johns, but he's busy doing a lot of other stuff. Dan Didio's gone, and
Dodging inquiries.
You know, so I think really, it was nice to see him. And hopefully he is able to maintain this type of role, but as well put out some content that is not just covers and sketches. Hopefully.
So can I just say, sorry, Stu. I kind of felt. Listen, I felt like we are, for people who you've gone to a friend's house just as they've split up. And you're going to the house and it's like, wow, kind of an awkward party here. You guys just broke up. You know, how are you doing? I kind of felt like that. I think if we really want Jim Lee to be the face of DC, DC has to publicly make him the face. Like, they have to be pushing him out there. Have like something on their website, you know, Jim's Corner or whatever. Make him a character, right? Jim Lee, the character for DC. I think we're all, because we're comic fanboys and this and that, we're like, of course, he's the face of it. But I think they really need to push his presence if that's the role they want him to play, because it kind of feels.
It's for an analogy of sports. It's the name. It's the crest on your jersey, not the name on the jersey. So I don't think DC wants to give anyone that type of power to say that you are.
He already has that power.
Yeah.
Well,
we don't know what he has anymore, Andre.
Well, let me finish, Stu.
Yeah.
Whether people know his name or not, Jim Lee's art is the art you see everywhere when DC is doing something. Meaning, New 52 was all his art. You go back to when he's redesigning like costumes for the TVs and movies. Like he did, I'm going back and I know it's not the greatest one, but when Catwoman came out, that's all his art. The Batman, he drew that poster. People know his art. So regardless if you know his name, his art is what's talking, and through that, people will say, "Oh yeah, that's Jim Lee," or "I recognize that guy. What's his name again?" Yeah. So regardless if they have to come out and say, "Oh hey, Jim Lee's our new spokesperson," he when years and years ago when he got elevated with Didio and Johns to creative force, he's been there. Now with those guys like Didio gone and the restructuring, he is, I think, the highest recognizable comic.
Oh, I agree with you.
There, and also with this fandom, we had a really nice tribute video to him and his career. So yeah. I think maybe they are, and they put him on the Lois and Clark thing. So I think he's and the Venus Williams. So he is. They pushed him out pretty well.
No, I hear you. I think is that they just might need to brand him a bit better for their properties. That's all I'm saying. Like, yeah, we know his art. Just if you're making him that face, brand him a bit better. That's all.
Jim Lee presents. Yeah, stuff like that.
So quickly, as we jump, because we have lots to cover and we've lollygagged enough. Quick thing, Andre, what is your number one Jim Lee comic? You've talked about thing. What is the number one that you'd recommend for people to check out right now?
To check out right now, oh man, he's got so many great
one thing.
One.
Yep.
One thing. Oh, you're always killing me with only ones.
Andre, you could talk for 3 hours straight. I'm not putting people through
Batman
that.
Batman Hush.
Come on.
Batman what?
Yep, that's the one.
Hush? Okay. Yep. That's the trade. Okay, got it. Yeah.
That's a must have.
It does showcase a lot
comics,
of different characters. That. Yeah. Okay. So jumping to that, we've already alluded to the Lois, Superman and Lois panel that was there. We did get 2 bits of information. One being that he will get a new costume, huzzah, and 2 that it is going to be a family show where it's some sort of family dynamic interspersed with a villain centerpiece.
I think Family Matter with capes is what they called it.
Yeah, with the
Family
villain
Matters with capes.
with a villain set piece. I think that's what it's a villain set.
Who
a
will be
villain
Steve
set piece.
Urkel is the question.
So it'll be 45 minutes of him domesticated, and then the last 10 minutes will come and punch someone in the face. And it's like, okay, let's carry on. So it's maybe
We got that with Lois and Clark in the 90s. It's like,
I was about to say maybe it's a teeny bit better than Lois and Clark, and that's pretty much it. But you know, let's Terry Hatcher was awesome. So that's my piece. Thoughts on that? Does it draw your attention?
I'm in. They're going to my jam. They're going back to Smallville. Family Man, 2 kids, stuff like that. Like that's my jam.
yeah.
And it's kind of like relatively new territory. They had that Lois and Clark comic series that did really well, and then the whole Tomasi run was kind of like, yeah, exactly. Rob's holding up the trade paperback, where they basically had an alternate universe where Superman and Lois were already married. So they're already married in this new TV series. They've accelerated the ages of the kids, so they're going to be older. They're not just going to be babies and stuff like that. So I think that's interesting. I don't know. Are they going to have powers? Who knows, right?
Probably.
So
This comes out of the events of Crisis, right? The Arrowverse Crisis.
Yeah. They shook it up with that thing, right?
Yeah. So now they've got 2 kids. I think they're preteen kids. So, you know, that will be a lot of fun and great.
Rob's like, I foresee this as is coming. It's already in the pipeline. Rob's like,
I wanted to escape this feeling.
Rob is like, I want a scene where Clark is sitting.
I want single
Fortnite,
Superman
and
living the
Superman
bachelor
wins
life
in Fortnite, and his son goes,
Yeah.
bot.
Whatever,
Yeah,
Dad.
this is it. I'm waiting for the Fortnite scene.
Oh, wait, Dad, you saved another locomotive.
Stick to your day job, Dad.
I have $10 to go to Pop Tate's and get an ice cream soda. I thought, just as John said this, during the panel, I thought of this this run from Dan Jurgens, about them being back in Smallville. Like, we gonna have to see what it's like, but like, you're taking Superman out of Metropolis and putting their family back in Smallville. There's been a couple of stories where they were doing that, and he was kind of going back and forth. I don't know.
John really loves the sets of Vancouver, so he wants to see it again. He wants to go back to rural Vancouver. We're going to talk about it later on, but there's all those hotels and open sets from Smallville still there, so you can just
listen.
go back.
I just want to see. I want to see a good Superman series. The whole 2 kids thing, whatever. Like, let's just see as long as it doesn't turn into where it's like the stories are mostly about the kids and, what type of tomfoolery they're going to get. You're going to get stuck in a tree, or they're going to go into a cave and the tide is rising.
Stuck in a tree is the storyline you come up with.
Come on, it's the CW, right?
Name the Smallville episode where someone's stuck in a tree, please.
Give us some time,
Rob, with his Rob making fun of my thing.
There's 11 seasons.
He comes up
Slow
with
down.
Stuck in a tree.
That weird Krypton movie of Monster of the Week.
Listen, I'm happy that they're going to be getting a new costume. I mean, the producer of the show pretty much said, listen, the one that he was wearing during these were only designed for these special events. They weren't designed for a weekly usage. So they're going to get a new costume. That's good, because I'm not a really big fan of that costume in the Arrowverse anyways. So give me a new costume. I'm going to give it a go. I'm going to watch it. It can't be worse than Lower Decks. So I'm going to give it a go and watch it, but I don't have a lot of hope.
Lower Deck shade there, folks.
All right. Andre, thoughts?
Well, I watched that panel and a couple things, struck me was when the I guess it's the writer and the producer kept talking, and it's like he wanted to remake his life.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I know you inject things, but I'm like, dude, I don't know you from Adam, and I don't think that should be the top priority of a Superman and Lois show. Because if you're right, if they got 2 preteen kids, that's got to be a big focus. And then they went back to Smallville. I'm like, okay, look, you're calling the show Superman and Lois, so you got your link to Lois and Clark. Then you're putting them back to Smallville. So what are you originally creating here? And without seeing it,
please bring back Tom Welling and Erica Durance.
You might as well.
No,
have.
thank you. No, thank you. Thank you.
It to me, from what I heard, like zero interest for their originality. And I love Tomasi's run when they introduced, basically their son, Jonathan, and that was mint. They didn't mention that run like at all in the interview and stuff like that. It just, this guy just kept mentioning how, oh, you know, I grew up in a small town where a big industry left, so I'm going to do that in this show. And I did this, and I have 2 kids, and I have 2 boys, and I think they get into blah, blah. And I'm like, yeah, that's great, dude. But, you know, like, and I'm not saying it won't appeal to people, but right now it doesn't sound like it. The other thing I did, which was super hilarious, I've never been a fan of the dude playing Superman. Not that he does a bad job, but he looks like the blankest faced individual. Like, he doesn't look like a friendly, inviting dude. So while I was watching this, I said to Holly, I said, does this guy look like Superman to you? And she's like, nah, he looks like a werewolf. He's got dead eyes. And I'm like, yes, that's it. That's exactly it. He like, and maybe that was just in the interview because he had his beard and stuff. I'm like, yeah, he almost looks pale like a vampire or a werewolf. She was exactly right. And then when you see him in the costume and the stuff, it's like, to me, Superman is like, he's got some color to his skin. He's got blue eyes, you know, like he just didn't look like he doesn't have. Not saying he didn't do.
Sorry,
a good
Rob,
job.
you're not on the list.
Don't try to steal a job from Army Hammer, Rob. Don't do this to him. Okay, don't do this to him. Sorry, Andre.
So that's just my take. Maybe I'll give the show a couple of watches, but it honestly doesn't have the originality so far that Smallville actually had, or the original Lois and Clark. Like, those two had a concept that they were able to articulate and say, this is the angle we're going for. So far, this other angle with them having 2 kids, and if they want family matter with capes, well, then you might as well just give me a depowered Superman. I'd actually be more interested in how he's going to start running a farm again and not be a reporter and stuff. And what's Lois the homemaker?
Got superpowers. He'll run that farm in a second. It's no problem.
So,
no, I said
let's just be honest here. The elephant in the room in this one is that they're missing an opportunity with Damian and Jonathan as a spin-off show. That's the show I want. I want the 2 young kids of Superman and Batman doing their own adventures. I don't care about the fathers. The fathers are gods. I want the kids who don't know what they're doing, figuring life out, and also having the gravitas and weight of knowing, oh, your dad's Superman. Yeah, my dad's Batman.
You want Superboy meets World. That's what you want.
Like, that's the thing I want. Like,
oh, John.
Super Sons.
Oh,
like,
John.
Yeah,
hey, Rob, go get stuck in a tree.
Yeah. So that's you know, the thing that I think we're missing. So anyways, so there's that. It is what it is. I think, to your point, Andre, you've said it before, patience is key. Let's wait and see what happens. Wait till first trailer and wait and see, and then you can hate, but we'll wait till then. Other news, Batwoman, new costume. No concept art, no nothing. Just, we got a new costume, which makes sense because there's a whole new Batwoman. Why wouldn't she not have a new costume? To switch the comparisons. Anyone care about this?
No.
I'm interested, actually. I'm down for this one because this is uncharted territory. This is a new character. They're creating a new original character. The character called Ryan Wilder, who is the Javicia Leslie character, completely new. Doesn't exist in the DC. They made a good job of pointing out that this character does not exist, and they're going to address the whole Ruby Rose thing. They're not just going to pretend she's gone. Yeah, I think they're going to address it in the storyline. Either she's missing or there's some type of mystery and things like that. And it sounds interesting to me. I'm more interested in watching this than the original version of the Batgirl. And this girl seems like she's a Batwoman. Yes, Batwoman. Yes, I watched some of her her feed, and she's training. Yes. She's training in Muay Thai, and she's looks like a natural athlete. So it'll be interesting to see what she can do with this role. And yes, the costume does have to change because she's got a different style and body than Ruby Rose.
Could you imagine if the only change is that the color of the symbol is yellow instead of red?
And the hair,
that would be
maybe.
Disaster. Yeah, no, they're going to change the suit. Yeah,
I think this is a really interesting dilemma for them because I've made no secret that the Batwoman graphic novels and her introduction as a character, I love them. You know, J.H. Williams III drew it, and it's a fantastic book. The first, I think, 2 or 3 trades are must reads. And so I was excited for the show. The show didn't capture everything that I wanted, but I think that would have been really hard. So I'm curious to see, because now, like John said, uncharted territory, they have to write this in. So it kind of sucks what happens because I think the original character of Kane, she's really interesting. So I feel the loss of that because I think her story in the comics was so great, and I think it would have translated well in the show. But also now they did a really good job with the casting and the actors who portrayed Alice. So now, how is that villain going to be reacting to somebody who's not her sister? And like, why have the hate? Like, she never hated Batwoman per se. It was more of the thing about they were sisters and stuff. So, anyways, curious to see how it goes. I hope the show can get some traction and go. Like, it would suck that they got one season and after the second season it doesn't get any traction and they got to cancel it. But I guess, hey, that's life in Hollywood. Your star quits, and you scramble, right?
Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about Rob's favorite thing, of course, is the unveiling of the Justice League Snyderverse Junkie XL song, the banger track that is. Did you hear it? Did you enjoy it? Did it percolate in your mind as you fell asleep at night?
Are you asking me?
Yeah.
Did you listen?
Listen,
This is your boy Snyder's original choice, though, right? They booted him off.
Yeah, he did.
Booted it off and brought in Elfman or whatever his name was.
Yep.
Danny Elfman.
Yep.
So, no, wait, it wasn't Danny Elfman, was it? Who did?
Yeah, it was Danny Elfman.
Okay. Yeah, listen, what was the point? It was a minute and 45-second clip with Junkie XL. Out of that is a minute and 20 or a minute of some audio sample, no contact. Whatever, man. Like, my day was not brightened or ruined by this. I was like, whatever. Like, just okay, I'm out. Like, it doesn't make a difference to me. I'm invested in. I can't wait to watch this. What was the point of this? Just to like, don't forget we have this going on. I don't care. Whatever. Sure. Okay. Cool.
All right. Well, that's pretty much it. I don't think.
What about Andre? This Junkie XL guy is a Hans Zimmerman,
disciple?
worked with Hans Zimmerman. Yeah. So the closest comparison I could find. Yeah. Sorry. I don't know if Andre listened to it. No.
Yeah, I didn't listen to it.
It's fine.
Yeah. So the closest comparison I could find is Elfman worked on Terminator Salvation, and Junkie XL worked on Terminator Dark Fate. So I don't know which music you like.
Andre's down. He loves Dark Fate. Yeah. Andre's in.
Like,
Andre's in.
Like,
it's fine.
I couldn't I know Junkie XL did that remix of that Elvis song, which hit really big, Little Less Conversation, a couple of years back.
Yeah.
I don't really follow a lot of his work, but they both, like, Danny Elfman's resume is ridiculous. Rob's Batman '89 and Batman Returns and like just a million and one things.
He's amazing.
Yep.
Yeah. So
it's guys get on a streak, and whether it's Hans Zimmer or now it's Gorn Josephson, the guy that did Black Panther and did all these other things. So this is, I think he did Tenet as well. This is all right. That was that. So Doom Patrol season 3 announced. I watched season 2. I thought it was really good. Anyone else have particular thoughts on outside of Rob realizing one of the characters was actually British?
Listen, that to me blew me away because I watched the panel last night because we were talking about it. Yeah. I haven't seen season 2, just because I like to. I think I'm a fan of watching everything at once as opposed to the weekly stuff. I also found I had a tough time with season 1. I might have
season 2 is good, much bebetter.
At any rate, so but Jovian Wade, who plays Cyborg, during the panel. Pure British. I had no clue. I felt like I got Hugh Lauried. I had no idea.
Hugh Laurie. Yeah, I was gonna say
Hugh Laurie, who played House, was British either. Like, I was like floored, right? So that to me was the best part of the panel. Made you going, what? Like that? Like, holy moly! Aside from that, I have nothing.
For all us old guys who watch Blackadder, we know Hugh Laurie from back then, or a little bit of Fry and Laurie, British guys. He is fantastic. Him and Mr. Bean are in that show together. It's a great show, Blackadder. So if anyone's out there who wants to watch an amazing show, British show with Hugh Laurie, Blackadder, it's great. Okay, so there we go. That was that. And I'm gonna come to the next panel, Flash panel. They already released the season trailer last fandom. They just dropped the trailer and they didn't really have much to say outside of one tidbit, and I want to get your thoughts. So the one tidbit was that the Flash is going to have to earn his yellow boots. So he doesn't have yellow boots yet, but he's gonna have to earn it. So I couldn't figure out in my mind. I'm like, did Flash have to earn his boots in the comics?
Oh,
Did they
I know what it's gonna be. They're gonna be like a pair of Yeezys. And he's gonna have to line up and win that raffle ticket to get these new Kanye West designed yellow
I hope John,
Ultra Boost boots.
I
That's
hope
it.
it's like one
That's
of
how you
those
earn it.
old school TV things where he has to keep his hand on a car and the last person his hand off the car gets the boots.
What if it's that
And
he
because
just
he's-
runs through a street machine that's painting the lines, and he runs through it, and he's like, "Oh, I actually kind of like this."
Yeah.
Like, what if it's that?
If this was a
simple?
Bugs Bunny cartoon, that might happen, Rob.
So Andre, as the historian, is there a context of why the boots are special, or he just got boots? Like they're just yellow boots.
Got boots.
Yeah, man.
They were special because it broke up the costume. You know what I mean? Like most
The
heroes'
lightning
costumes,
comes from his boots.
you know, are different. Superman's blue and then red boots, not blue pants all the way down.
just
Ah,
blue onesie.
Red and then yellow, right? So
It's
yeah, I
the
guess
same. Yeah,
they maybe just want to change the costume every couple of seasons to say they've done something. Whatever.
Wait, what color are his boots now? I'm not super
Red.
familiar with it.
Burgundy.
Yeah, it's just
Burgundy?
same
yeah,
colors.
it's like a
So his
onesie.
whole suit is just like a onesie.
A
Okay.
onesie, yeah.
What color were they in that old school show, Rob? Do you remember?
Red.
With the muscle suit, everything was red. So
Yeah,
no one's
the
ever
old
done
John
yellow
Wesley
boots?
ship. It was all red. It was all just one big piece.
What color are Urza
It
Miller's boots?
was like a velvety satin
Red.
type of thing. Red.
Everything's red. Oh, so this is revolutionary. This is a big deal, guys.
This would be
This is
the
a big
only
reveal,
costume.
Stu. Don't undersell this reveal. This is a big deal. Are they gonna let it get scuffed, or are they gonna be pristine yellow boots the entire time?
The whole
I hope
time,
there's
the
product
Speed Force will
integration.
protect.
There's a
them.
reason. Yeah, costume designers probably like, fuck, how are we gonna keep
How
these
do
things
we?
clean?
They probably went out to Nike, Adidas, and One, and like all the shoe companies. Like, okay, we have a marketing opportunity. Who wants to put their logo on the side of these?
French's mustard.
Flash definitely runs the Ultra
yellow
Boost. Flash
boots.
definitely runs Ultra Boost.
Man. Okay, so there's that.
You know what that means?
Don't undersell
Listen,
it.
If you're being really serious about how is he going to earn it, listen, we all know how season 7 ended off and that he's losing his powers. He has to that's what it's going to be. He's going to have to reconnect with the Speed Force because they have to finish off that storyline from season 6.
Rob sounds very excited for this season.
It'll be
Is
like
this,
Superman
how
2,
the
where
you think
Clark
it's-
goes back to the Forces of Solitude. He's like, "Father!" And then the green crystal show. It's going to be the exact same type of thing. He's going to come out of the Speed Force with his costume, with his yellow boots. His powers will all be restored. And off to season 7 we go. So
Maybe this is a Dumbo situation where he, like to your point, he's running out and they paint his boots yellow. It's like, you can run faster now. And there it is. So it's like, only with yellow boots I can run fast.
You have
So-
yellow lightning that comes out of you. Now there's a reason.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Here we go. Okay, so 2 more topics and we'll roll out. Big news, Pennyworth, season 2.
No news.
Big
This is no news. Why is this even on the topic?
Two news. One,
Stop
Bruce Wayne-
underselling these topics.
Bruce Wayne is now in the show.
No.
So Thomas Wayne.
Does
and
Andre know this
Martha
reveal? I don't know if Andre knows this
Wayne-
reveal.
Martha Wayne Kane.
Okay, watch Andre's face. This
She'll
is the
be
reveal
pregnant
live.
with Bruce Wayne. So Embro Bruce Wayne will be part of the show. He will be a baby.
Wait, can I do an impression of Andre? Ready? There.
No, the vomit.
So,
Tongue out, gong. bleh.
so season 2, Pennyworth will have Bruce Wayne and onwards as a toddler. So
So-
we're gonna learn.
Gives a crap.
I haven't watched Pennyworth,
Mhm.
but are they trying to say that it's like a like
It's a prequel.
I don't
yeah.
even know. Is this like the
He's a spy.
Waynes just got married and they still had Alfred like before, or he's not
He's
their
not
butler?
full
Like,
time yet. He's still like being a badass, killing people and being a spy, and then he becomes their butler shortly. So this will lead into that.
I'm so annoyed this exists, but whatever.
yeah.
That baby.
Who asked for this show?
Nobody.
Bruno Heller, also one of the Bruno Heller, the creator of the show, who brought us such other fine shows as The Mentalist, which I like actually. So before we go on,
Could
I
you
didn't like
imagine
The Mentalist.
guys pitching shows and they're in a room and they're like, okay, guys, we can't use Batman in the TV show. But what strikes you as a character that we could use? And people, yo, how about we do like a, who was, Alfred. Yeah, we could make a show pre-Butler Alfred and stuff. Like, okay,
when he was a spy for MI6, very James Bond-ish.
Cool, yeah. Hey, don't we have a whole bunch of other spies in the DC universe that we could use? No, but we could tie it to Batman. In 20 years, in 20 seasons, we can get Batman in this Pennyworth. So, like, what's the point?
So,
right?
to be fair, Andre,
they're not going to wait 20 years.
Yeah. To be fair, I think the way the studio system works right now is that the studio, either Warner Brothers or Marvel, goes to CAA or one of the firms and like, okay, we need someone to pitch us an idea of Pennyworth. And they probably all send it off, and everyone comes into the room, and it's like one by one. And it's like, this is my idea for the show. And then they're like, we're going to do it. We just run it.
Why keep fixating on these, like with so many great characters? Like,
Batman has the same problem as Wolverine. He has to be on every team. Like we had Justice League Dark movie that had Batman in it. Why? I don't need Batman in this. I need Constantine. I need the Dark universe. Why is Batman? Batman just needs to
They are casting a young Lucius Fox, right? That's one of the other things that they're going to do.
Is you're going to meet at daycare? Is this what this is? Like, listen,
Lucius Fox is
Warner
older than
Brothers
Batman,
has got. Listen,
but
we may not have had the DC bloodbath if they keep producing shit like this. So just stop. Enough with this prequel crap.
This is in line with their whole uncharted territory. Now we're gonna know if Batman was a difficult pregnancy. Did she have morning sickness? Was it a difficult birth? Is there there's a lot of things like
I hope
formula
that
fed?
when Batman
there's a lot of things that can be revealed for Batman in this exploration.
Let us hope that when he comes out of the womb, he is I am the night. I am the darkness.
I am vengeance.
No, he's vengeance.
I'm vengeance. I'm vengeance. Other controversy from the panel, and that's why I say this, was in the panel, they said that Pennyworth would be able to beat, if you took this prime version of Pennyworth and put him against the prime version of Batman, he would win because Batman's learned everything he knows from Pennyworth. So they've set the argument that this is the way it's set up, is that Bruce Wayne would not be able to beat Alfred in their primes. If you just took them out one by one in the universes, Pennyworth would win every single time. Thoughts, Andre?
So now it's gonna go. Who would win in a fight, Batman or Superman? Batman. Who would win in a fight, Alfred or Batman? Alfred. Yep. So by the transitive property, does Alfred now beat Superman?
Potentially, yes.
Superman, yeah.
Yes. Prime Alfred.
Have they revealed that Pennyworth's mother's name is Martha?
Ooh, not yet. That's season 3.
Yeah, season 3. Andre, thoughts on that reveal from the panel?
Batman embryo.
It's just nonsense. Like, they did a really good take on Alfred in the Batman Earth 1 book by Jeff Johns and Gary Frank. And that was where you had this harder, militaristic Alfred. But honestly, like, it's cool that he had this background, that was mentioned a long, long time ago. But to lean into it so heavy, Alfred didn't train Bruce Wayne. Let me rephrase it, in the comics. So yeah, this could be a new version of it. But I'm like, there's again, it makes me have to throw out all the stuff I know about Batman and how he went around the world and trained with the best race car driver. Yep. He trained with Zatanna to be Zatara to be an escape artist. He trained with police in Paris to hone his detective skills. Not once in any of those comics did they mention that Alfred trained him in hand-to-hand combat. Alfred was the guy who supported him, but was doing it out of comfort. It was like he
was the milk and cookies guy.
Want him to do it, but he's like, if you're gonna do it, I have to stand behind you. It was reluctant support because he loves Bruce. You know what I mean? So this is like, oh well, if they're gonna make basically Alfred supposed to be his like Stallone boxing instructor, that's just that's a mythos. I'm all down with that.
Him looking is like, look in the mirror. It's like, it's you versus them. It's like,
I like Miyagi Danielson.
Back and forth. That's it.
His parents died. If Alfred was this hard ass freaking spy.
Master Wayne, please don't cry. Let's work on nerve pinches.
Vulcan death pinch. I learned it on Star Trek.
Let's talk about the carotid artery and how to sever it.
Yeah. So clearly that's Rob's thoughts. There we go. That was great. The McDuffie tribute. I didn't watch it, but Andre, you saw that panel. Do you want to
Yeah.
briefly talk about that?
Wow. Listen, I think everybody needs to watch this panel. Dwayne McDuffie passed away, I think, almost 10 years ago. And I don't think people realize how instrumental he was in a lot of the comics that we've read. But not only that, when he transitioned to doing the animated stuff, he was a prolific writer on the Justice League cartoon, Justice League Unlimited, which was just phenomenal. He later went on to do, I can't remember how many seasons of Ben 10, the Static Shock cartoon, and you know, it reveals, unfortunately, and it's just super sad. I didn't even realize it was just like he rewrote or he adapted All-Star Superman, you know, and he took that big 12 issues of Grant Morrison and distilled it down to its core essence and was able to get it into what the movie was, which a lot of people have said is better than the comic, you know. And I just learned so much about this guy. Like, I read so much of his stuff, and a lot of it was lost on me because I was younger. Like, I grew up reading, you know, the Milestone stuff, and he was instrumental in Milestone and stuff. And the themes that were present in that, you know, they did go over my head at the time. So I went back and flipped through some of my stuff. My favorite book at the time was Hardware, as I was a big Iron Man fan. But there was a lot of stuff in there that is super still relevant today, because he told stories about character and the core and the heart of these characters in these situations and stuff. And you know, so he's just a super brilliant writer. One of the things I didn't know, the guy, he was actually a genius. He went to I think it was Michigan State University when he was 10. So this guy was a actual genius, and just everybody, when you listen to what people said about him and how they spoke about him, like this guy was a giant, like physically, mentally, you know, in personality wise, and just gone way too soon. And they said that, like, you know, he was on tap to start doing movies. They, like, Sony Pictures had contacted him, like, and then he passed away. He was, I think, only 49 years old or something, man. Like, so it was a great tribute. You know, I know at the time it happened, they did mention in the comics there was like a little page, but you know, the only sad thing I think about this tribute was I think it was 10 years, you know, too late. But I'm glad they did it. I'm glad they recognized him, and I hope people watch it, because I think he's done so much that we, you know, and myself, I'm knee deep in comics. You know, like I said, I knew his work, but I didn't know the depth of it really. So it was a good tribute. Like, that's something that should be front and center. You should be talking about the impact that he's had for all those years on comics, and it's still felt today.
Awesome. John, did you have any thoughts?
I didn't get a chance to watch the tribute, so I'm definitely going to check that out.
Rob?
Just, you know, I you know, Andre is right, and I think that it is 10 years too late, that they should have had this tribute. I hope that DC actually takes this tribute off of the fandom and puts it on their main page for a while. Robert Kirkman did a series, Robert Kirkman's History of Comics, and I think it was 6 episodes, and one of those episodes was completely dedicated to you know, Milestone and McDuffie. So I think it's great. I think obviously he has a massive amount of respect with comic creators, and I think that it was important that they highlighted his contribution to comics. And I'm glad that, you know, even though Kirkman's special was 2018, which you can find them online, 2 years later, DC is doing their own. So I think it's good. I think it highlights exactly how important he was to comics as a medium, as Andre said. So.
Awesome. So any final thoughts on Fandom Part 2 before we, you know, close the portal till Fandom 2021?
See you next year, Fandom!
John, as you're trying to escape, any final thoughts? So we before we go to the mixed bag.
I like that they gave you that, or I thought it was crazy that they gave you that entire Superman. That they premiered that entire Superman thing on there. I watched most of it. Shout outs to the Superman booty that shows up. And I did watch the Todd McFarlane action figure reveals. He was talking about with what he's putting into the design of the figures, that he wants each of them to have different silhouettes and for you to not have 10 of the same figure and stuff like that. And he showed off the new Batman, the drowning figure or whatever. So that was pretty cool. And he talked a little bit about the process of doing it. So he's always fun to watch. And these new multiverse figures are coming out really cool. So I'm excited for that.
Nice. Rob, any final thoughts?
No, it just is, listen, and I know we're going to segue into Wonder Woman, but it seems really weird that, DC Fandom Part 1 drops a few days after the DC Bloodbath, and then Part 2 drops 2 days after the news of the movie being moved. So it's just like, can you not figure out how to properly schedule these news releases before you have your big event? It's kind of weird, but
it's a fluid situation. Yeah.
So anyways, I'm glad it happened. As I said earlier, I wish now that having consumed both parts, but within too much time passing between each, I wish it was all for one full weekend. I think a nice summertime, watch it all in one weekend. It would have been great.
Or they spread out, save some reveals for this one, some of the big reveals for this one.
No. Yeah, we've got lots of thoughts from Andre before, so we're going to jump over to our mixed bag topics, and I'll have him start us off. Wonder Woman 84 has been moved back for the 6th time. It will now be on December the 25th, I think the 25th.
Yep.
Christmas movie.
That takes place on the 4th of July weekend. So here we go, Andre. We have Christmas movies that take place from July, and when July we have blockbusters, we have Christmas movies. So this is how it works. This is their inside scoop. Do you think, Andre, that this movie is actually going to come out in 2020, or is Rob going to be upset again that the news is going to be 2021?
No, it's definitely coming out 2021. There's no way this they've pushed it back 6 times. They need to recover money here, so, and I don't think, look at the States. The people went back to colleges and then there was like 900 cases in colleges and stuff like that. And you see the videos of these guys in frat houses just literally like beside each other, passing beers around and like, what the hell? Like this, there might be 2 places in the world where cases might be manageable, but that might not be the biggest market for the movie. Unless I think they've got one choice, is they keep delaying it. Maybe they go back to next June or July. Maybe there's something, because then
schedule's full.
Summer, but
full.
But you know what? Who's going out in Canada in the winter to go see a movie during this pandemic? Like, I know Rob went to see Tenet. I want to see Tenet. I'm not ready to go back to a theater. I'm sorry. Even if there's 5 people in there, I'm just not ready. And I love movies. We talked about Bill and Ted coming out, and it did well streaming. Maybe they need to look at that if they want a 2020 release. But I can't see December 25th being a good time, for this movie reveal to be released. And with Marvel not even mentioning Black Widow at any time, you may wait till that happens and then put the 2 head to head if you want. I don't know. I just don't see it.
So here's the schedule for July. Minions, first week of July. 2nd, Minions: The Rise of Gru. And then also John and me are going to be in theaters watching Top Gun Maverick. So we're already out. Then July the 9th is Forever Purge. And then July 16th is Space Jam: A New Legacy and Uncharted. Uncharted. And then we have...
Well, that's not happening, so...
Uncharted?
Yeah, Uncharted's not happening.
They haven't even started filming yet, so that's not happening.
Yeah.
And then they have The Tomorrow War, which happens with Chris Pratt, and The Tomorrow War, and Jungle Cruise on July the 30th.
Yes.
Most of those are going to be pushed back off of that timeline anyway. So.
Well, Jungle Cruise will happen because it's already in the can. Like, that was supposed to drop in this past July. So, like, you're going to have Top Gun, you're going to have Jungle Cruise, because those are all ready to go. So I'm, they'll be released. Those other ones, Uncharted, they haven't even started filming it. So I think they've started doing some of the pre stuff, but I don't know. I could be wrong, but.
And then we still have in April, Fast and Furious 9, so 2021, April the 2nd.
Yeah.
So
Fast and Furious in space.
No, that's the next one. They've confirmed space, but that's the next one. Okay. Rob, how are you feeling? You're the only one that cares.
He's upset.
Listen, okay, so whatever. I could go on for hours on this whole topic of streaming and movie theaters and this and that. So yes, okay. To Andre, to follow what he said, yes, I went recently to see Tenet in the theaters. I live outside of in GTA, but more east of it. I went, my wife and I went. We have a son who, he's got a heart condition. So we're very hesitant, much like Andre, about going into the theater and this and that. But I wanted to take a look to see how things were running and operating. Was very happy with how Landmark did their processes and procedures. We felt safe. 6 people in the theater, which is not surprising. It's like 24 movie theaters within this complex, and they were all showing Tenet. So you really didn't have to worry about overcrowding. And we felt safe enough to the point where I said to my wife as we left, I was like, wow, we could totally take our kids, or I could take the kids to see Wonder Woman October 2nd, because I felt completely safe with how things. And then this news comes out that is being delayed again. And I was like I was losing my mind, because I personally, I would love to be wrong. Let me just say this right off the bat. I would love to be wrong about this. So anybody who gets upset about it, I would be happy to be wrong. I just think that we are going to find ourselves in a more dire situation around the holidays, around wintertime, than we would probably find ourselves at the beginning of October. Mm-hmm. That's just me. And I mean, strictly from the number of cases and how things are happening. I don't see how it's going to get, if we are already on an incline of cases increasing now, you can only imagine it's going to get that much worse by Christmas. So I really don't see this movie coming out on Christmas Day, unless they do the Bill and Ted model where they say, Merry Christmas, it's in select theaters and online on iTunes or Google Play or whatever. That's the only way I see it coming out on Christmas Day. I rented Bill and Ted for $20. I loved watching Bill and Ted at home, $20 rental. Loved it. My son and I, we watched it. It was great. I would welcome that movie being released online in that capacity. I want to see this. I want this in my eyeballs. I feel like this is now DC's answer to the New Mutants. It's nomadic. It's all over the place. I just want this movie. And I get that they have to recover their money and this and that, but you're not recovering anything now. So you might as well make something, right? So
it's hard because what the Mulan situation, it's not really a good representation of how a movie can do on Disney Plus's new premiere service. There's so many controversies with it, and I'll get into my Mulan takes later. But yeah.
I saw a thing that Mulan, in the U.S. alone, there was was it 30 million rentals or whatever it was. So is that 30 million times $30? I don't know. Is that
yeah? There's plus $10 for Disney Plus or whatever the trial is. There was a spike in Disney Plus subs.
Maybe if there wasn't the controversy, but that sounds like a pretty decent number to me. And I would guess that Wonder Woman would be huge. Would more people look? Wonder Woman could come out as a rental for $20 or buy a digital copy and a rental when the digital gets released for home consumption for $50, and I'd be there. I do want to see the movie as well, but I just don't know if I want to.
Well, I think Andre, the shareholders are expecting you to make $1 billion off of this franchise. So yeah, 200 million is not enough to balance out the filming and the advertising costs. So
for sure, but again, I think if Mulan is any indication, and there's so much controversy around it, and also less of audience. Unfortunately, I want to say less people are interested in a Mulan live action. Let's face it, unfortunately. But how bad or good the movie is, just there's not as much interest as a Wonder Woman sequel. I think they could get way more people for that. But again, you're right.
Here's the thing, $1 billion. The ultimate test
And
is
also the theater.
the
They might
ultimate
be
test. Wait,
obligated
let me
to
jump
do it.
quickly. The ultimate test is Black Widow. If they do Black Widow, then it opens up for Wonder Woman. But would you say that they would do Black Widow on the Premium Plus service as well? Because I wouldn't do Wonder Woman, and I put them in the theaters only. I'd push that movie back.
So
Would you risk Black Widow being on the service and making back a fraction of what you think it would cost, or would you?
How about this though? Like I know, I was a consumer of going to see movies again when they got re-released. I didn't see Blade Runner when it came out originally, but then it went to the Cinesphere, which is a huge IMAX, and I went to that. What if these guys stream these movies for their $20 or $30, and then when things are better, put them on the screen? You know, like I would definitely want that experience. So I know, again, it's not going to give them what they want, but I'm pretty sure people will be like, people right now are going to go back and see older movies in the theater, because some of the theaters were doing that. But listen, if Black Widow came out on Disney Plus for $30, and you guys know that I ain't the biggest Marvel movie fan, you know, I would easily $30-$40 for Black
But if
Widow.
I was a shareholder,
what if
Andre,
it's-
I would not be happy.
Two people.
Yeah.
It's going to be me and the wife, or me and somebody else anyways.
so
So
but,
that's what I would pay. And same thing for Wonder Woman. Like Wonder Woman, unfortunately, just because I like the first one better, and I think I'm more invested in that property. Like I said, if they said, here's a super ticket, you can watch it, and then when the Blu-ray comes out, we mail you the physical copy, and it's, even if it was $80, because chances are, if I go to the theater for $40 and then buy a Blu-ray for $39.99, you know, I know I'm super in the minority in that, but I would probably end up buying the movie anyways.
But like,
right?
you know, why not do the reverse? Listen, there's been a lot of Tenet came out. It's made, it was over 100 million in the first few days, which is not what it would normally make. But and that was just overseas. That wasn't even including North American box office.
Mhm.
It's probably on its way to making 200 million, which is far short. And what if they did that? What if they released it now? Release Wonder Woman now while people still have an opportunity to go to theaters. This is what I don't understand. Make your 200, your 300 million potentially, and then drop it online in October or November for the $20 rental. Like, then you have the best of both worlds, because people have gone to the theater to see it. And I'm going to be like, oh my God, Andre, you should be watching this movie when it comes out on iTunes. And he's like, all right, I'll rent it.
At the end of the day, these are publicly traded companies, and it's not going to happen. It's as much as you want it, Rob, to happen. If I was, again, you don't own any shares of Warner Brothers, so you have no skin in the game.
How do you know that, Stu?
Because a shareholder would be like, no, hold out for more money. You waited this long. Why not wait a little bit
one
longer?
share, so it makes no difference now.
But like, you know, if I owned a share in Heroes World and you guys were doing this, I'd be like, no, guys, I'm the boss. You're not doing that at all, because I put so much money into you guys. No. So I think that you have to convince your shareholders, and at the end of the day, this is all about shareholders, because that's where that's where the real power is. It's not the president of the company. It's the shareholders who own the percentage of your company. So
this movie will become. This is the problem, though.
How will it become? It's 84. Like, does it matter when it comes out?
No, but the problem is that the relevancy of this movie will start to wane, because it becomes, if you keep talking about it, and it's going to be coming out, and you got Patty Jenkins and saying, we are coming out October 2nd, we're excited, we're moving it, this and that, and now it's like, guys, don't worry, keep your patience, we're coming out. That people will just start to just like flake off, and you're not going
to flake off, Rob, because you're
I think you will.
You are Charlie Brown. You're going to keep on going for that football, regardless of what he does.
You are Charlie Brown.
You are Charlie Brown.
Good grief, Rob.
You're gonna go for it. It's like Wonder Woman, and you're like, whoop, and you fall over. You're like, ugh, well, happened, but I'll do it again. It's happened 6 times, and you're still on board. So tell me,
you blockhead.
Are you gonna let me know when the 8th time that they change the date, you're like, I'm out, guys? That's not happening. That's not happening. So it does not matter. They could take the ball away from you 10 times, and you're still going to run for that football, Rob.
Well, listen, a possibility exists. Like we said, it's not coming out Christmas Day, and we might not be looking at this movie until 2021, potentially 2022. So
Fast and Furious was done already, and then they just went radio silent. They're like, so I'm waiting for. I want some John Cena as and Vin Diesel as, you know,
but
brothers for no reason.
But did Warner Brothers jump the gun on pulling this? Because the first movie to have moved was Bond back in the spring. It feels like it was last year, but they made the decision in like March to pull it off its April release, and it stuck the landing in November, and their plan is still to go to November. So did Warner, maybe this is the better question and we need to find out, did Warner Brothers jump the gun on pulling this October 2nd? It's 3 weeks away. Why would they pull it now?
Well, I think the numbers have shown, whether it was Bill and Ted and with the experiment of Mulan, it doesn't work. Like if they were all optimistic that, oh, maybe these will be the examples of how much money we could do, overseas sales,
or is it
well, they look
Tenet?
at and they look at it and they're and Tenet, and it's like, it doesn't matter. The fact that Tenet will be in the movie theater for like 4 months, I haven't seen that since we were all little kids when movies were actually in the theaters for 4 months. Now it's in 4 months, it's on Blu-ray, on digital release. Like Andre is like, I don't have to see this. In 3 months, I can just download it, or within a day you can download it. So this is, we're going in a time machine where we'll be back in time when Ghostbusters 2 was in the theater for like 6 months, and then you had to wait 2 years before it came out on VHS.
Yeah.
So this is where we're at. This is a magical world, but a magical world. So we'll see what happens. I love your guys' optimism, but me as the guy going, they want to. The ledger is there. They've lost too much money already. With all the, they just got to make it back. They just got to wait. That's it. That's unfortunate.
I've already forgotten about it. Like I've already forgot all about this movie almost.
Yeah,
like,
but that's
I almost
nothing.
don't. I don't pay
You
attention
forget
to
everything.
Shut
But
up,
here's the
you.
thing.
I forget about the new dates. I don't even pay
streaming
attention.
anyways.
Yeah.
They should be.
Only
Getting
time I'm
people on the
reminded was when I see
streaming
Doritos
services.
bag.
Yeah, but that's like, and the toys are long. And also, Andre's talked before. The toys are long gone. The toys came out like 6 months ago.
We're sold out.
And they're gone. So like the toys that ruined everything are already gone. So we've already forgotten this movie already. But here, like this is the nature of it.
Well, all the
both
costumes,
of them have streaming services that are desperate to get users. So to your point, the best thing to do is to push them to Disney Plus, like they did with Hamilton, or HBO Max. But I think they're too pot invested. They know these movies will make $1 billion, and they just cannot risk it. Wonder Woman will make $1 billion if it's in the theaters.
You think movies will make $1 billion again?
yeah, 10 years from now.
If there's
That's what I mean. I think they're gonna have to. I think they're gonna have to suck it up. I think the world's changed, permanently. I don't know how many theaters will be able to keep running if they've got 6 people in the theater or 9 people. At a certain point, they gotta be like, this is
Attainable.
what's the word? You can't run it.
Yeah.
So I don't know when it's going to come back, and also we're seeing shifts in our business, like people coming in less. Like I had a customer come in this past week, and they're like, oh, can I get my pull and hold file? And I'm like, sure, what's your name? Because everybody's got masks on, didn't recognize him. And I didn't have a file for him. And I'm like, when's the last time you were in? The guy was like, February. And I'm like, well, dude, it's September, man. I said, we tried contacting people, could have phoned, could have this. And then he was just like, okay, no problem. I'll just pick it up and trade, So I think people are changing. Like if people are coming to the store once every 4 months or 3 months or whatever, like that's our store, and we can have, it's definitely not as full as it was before. So I could imagine with the theater, like look how many people it takes to run a single theater.
Yep.
Let alone like Rob's, your complex had 24 screens. Like, man, that's like one usher per, or not usher, but person to clean it per thing or whatever. Like you can't. I don't know. It sucks. So maybe they have to find a new model, or maybe the art of making movies changes.
Yep.
And maybe you can no longer spend how many millions and hope to get $1 billion. Maybe they have that and they're like, well, we're going to be happy with 200 million or whatever. Or yeah, streaming is the new deal. And that's what's like again, look at how cool Dune is and everybody's excited about Dune. When the hell is that going to come into the theater?
It's supposed to be December.
this December.
If it hasn't been pushed back yet, I'm pretty sure they're going to do, like, again, look how much money. There's no way they're going to say, we've invested 200 million making this movie. We're going to be happy making 200 million at the box office and hope to God that it streams and we make money on Blu-ray.
And Andre, as you know, the secret part of Dune is it's only part 1 of 2. So it's only half the book. So it's not even the full book. So we get halfway over the book and you're like, and we're done. I'm like, what do you mean we're done? Oh, there's another part to this book. It's like 1,000 pages. So we basically split it in two, and we just didn't tell you that we split.
It could be on 5 years.
And we're like, oh, by the way, and from if you watch the panel, none of it was green screen. Everything was on location in Jordan or like on sound stages. So this is like they did everything in actual real life. So I don't know what they're gonna do. Like they're gonna have to like. To be fair, Disney, and as much as you hate the Mandalorian, Andre, that technology that they created is now being built in Australia for Thor. So that LED soundstage, they're making an even bigger one in Australia for Thor: Love and Thunder, which is being filmed as we speak because Natalie Portman's there right now. So it's going to change the nature. They probably won't have as many set pieces. They'll film it on a soundstage that's, of like LCDs. But yeah, it will affect. I think actually it will affect salaries for actors more than anything else. They're like, we can't pay you what we paid you before for COVID. Sorry, bro. Like whatever 20 million you're making, let's make that a little lower. Let's sort this out. Like it's gonna be really interesting to see how it affects. It cascades down because they're gonna go back to talent and be like, what we paid you before can't be done. I guess unless you're Chris Helmsworth. Other than that, everyone else is like, we're gonna lower your parents' fees just because they can't.
Or Army Hammer.
Or Army. Well, Army's not part of a franchise yet, so we'll see. Yeah, I'm curious to see, and we'll talk about the Thor news at another date because Helmsworth said this is not a movie you finish on, so he's gonna be doing more Thor movies till the end of time. I think he's the one guy who's like, I'm gonna do this forever.
But he seems to have that gene where he doesn't age. So,
but he's like, why not?
The
It's like,
gene.
Not that he's like, I'll just film in Australia once every like 3 years. I'm cool.
Yeah.
Like, who cares?
I think that's a really good point. I think you're going to see a lot of actors going back to franchises because they're like, damn, I just need a paycheck, yo. This is crazy. Like, yo, I wasn't going to be so-and-so. I don't want to reprise my role. Now they're like, yo, can you write me into something? Or, because I think they're, yo, I'll come on a TV show, Disney Plus. What you got? Let's get the.
Yeah.
Robert Downey Jr. stated he's completely done with Iron Man. We'll see how long.
Robert Downey's a different story because he's big enough that he can do it on his own. But like, if you're a B or like a monotier, like A-lister, like The Rock and Robert Downey they can make whatever they want. Also, Downey made so much money off those Avengers movies that it doesn't matter because
he's producing. And he's producing Sweet Tooth. He's got
Perry Mason.
Yeah, so he's more than diversified himself to have a continuous revenue stream. So he's fine.
Yeah.
But
Helmsworth is a different story.
Don't come out, and he might have to fall back and be like, yo, I'll put that suit on again.
Yeah.
Evans is a whole different story.
I don't want that. I don't want.
I don't know if Disney wants Evans at this time. He's a little too hot right now. I think there's a situation with Chris Evans that remains nameless, Andre. That not very Disney friendly right now. We'll see what happens. Maybe Disney says we're good, Captain America. We'll maybe in a few years when the heat dies down.
Yeah. That's the name of his next movie, Love and Thunder, on that one.
Okay, other random news. For those who love board games and a child of the 90s, Hero Quest, the board game, was a big deal back in the day. It was like this D&D style game in a box, and there is news on Hasbro / Avalon Hill that there's a countdown.
There's a countdown.
To Hero Quest. Hero Quest, not Heroes. Hero Quest, the board game. The old Milton Bradley game. So those who remember, it was the hotness, and if you went online on eBay, they can still be found for a lot of money. So we'll see what happens.
For a pristine copy, you can get a beat up copy for
a beat up copy with missing
somewhat
stuff.
affordable.
Yeah, it may or may not go up in value, but I'm excited to see that board game come out again because there was a reboot that happened 4 or 5 years ago on Kickstarter, and then the lawyers got in the way and it disappeared.
Never materialized.
Now there's so interesting board game news there. That's
I think Restoration Games filed something called Hero Quest Legacies in July of this year. Restoration Games does a really good job with bringing back old games. They brought back Fireball Island and Downforce and Stop Thief, a bunch of great games. So if they touch it at all, but this new one, I think there's no GW affiliation at all, so that'll be interesting. But definitely excited for that.
Yeah. So last couple points, and we'll jump off. But Sad news to report that the Venture Brothers cartoon show was canceled after 17 years, but not actual 17 seasons. Rob was astounded to know. He's like, I'm like, Rob, you should watch it. It's a great show. He's like, how many seasons? I'm like, oh, it's not that many. It's like 7. But it's strung out over 17 years. It is those who are initiated to the world of the Venture Brothers. It's 2 twin brothers who follow their dad, Rusty, who was basically a Johnny Quest character. So his father would take him and another kid and Brock, who was Putty, on adventures around the world. And it follows, Rusty as he grows up with all the weirdness of being a child, following his father, who's a badass on all these adventures, and how he's a complete shell of a human being because he was basically neglected as a child. And then now he has 2 sons who's teaching them about what the world is like. But what's great about the show is that it's deep in character development. They do all the superhero tropes. They have all the different heroes and counter villains and the Guild of Calamitous Content. So it's a really great show if you can watch it. The voice acting is tremendous. Colbert is in it. They have lots of weird things. The Monarch is one of the all-time greatest villains.
Someone's going to pick it up. They said they want to continue the story, the creators, right?
So the way the show is set up is that as your hero, you're tied up to a villain. So the Monarch, who is this guy that built off a monarch butterfly, has a giant flying beehive with all these henchmen, and that's who he's matched up with, Brock and Rusty Venture. And Brock just destroys and murders all these henchmen without even questions all the time. So it's and as the show grows and the mythos grows bigger, you see more of the heroes, sidekicks. They're Captain America, they're Wonder Woman, they're Spider-Man, his powers are gross. But yeah, it's a super great show if you can watch it. It's on Hulu. But I'm sad and hopefully it'll be picked up. I know, Rob, you haven't watched it. Andre, have you seen any episodes of the Venture Brothers?
Only a couple in the first season.
First season was rough. Dark Horse published an art book, so maybe you'll see a comic form.
First season is
17 years.
It didn't find itself to the season 1 finale. When stuff happens, you're like, whoa, that's the direction they're going in, and then it grows upon then. And again, I would highly recommend watching if you haven't done so already, and finding it on Hulu, or season 1 I think is on Amazon that Rob mentioned, or in Canada. In Canada. So if you haven't watched it, watch it. It is so many Easter eggs. It's so Archer level detail of guys that come in and out, and Action Man, who there's a Sean Connery guy who's in it who's fantastic, basically. Anyways, I can go down. It's awesome. Last on kind of the list is that Marvel, the deal with Netflix is officially over. So as of next month, Marvel can begin work on and get the rights back to Iron Fist and Luke Cage. So it's theirs. So in your humble opinion, Andre, do you think they deserve another TV show, a movie? What is your mind for these properties? Because there's generally a fan base for it. People like them. It is worthwhile. I think Iron Fist is a really cool character. And if you do the Tournament of the Realms storyline, which is amazing, there's lots to do. So what are your thoughts on what they should do with these properties now?
I think they'd have to wait a couple of more years. Obviously, it'd be years from now, but Iron Fist definitely needs a reboot, and you've got to erase everything that they've used with him. I would do one of the best Iron Fist stories was the one that came out a couple years back, and they kind of showed the legacy of Iron Fist through the ages. That was such a great run that I think that's a story in itself, and that could easily be a movie. The Luke Cage TV show I think was good, and the actor pulled it off and stuff. So I don't know if you need to recast him, but he might be collateral damage if you want to redo both of them fresh. But I also think you might need to modernize it a little bit and jazz it up like the comics did. But they might even need to do it even more, because the original roots were kind of that disco era and the tiara and the Sweet Christmas and stuff. It's you know, the comics have moved past that, but I think you might even need a more if you want to do the two of them together, you need something different. Maybe you introduce Power Man in something else, but if you could do that Immortal Iron Fist first 6 or 12 issue story arc, man, that would be amazing. Even if they did it as an animated show or a Disney Plus series like Falcon and Winter Soldier, and you get a really good cast for it, I would be down to see that. But there's very few other Iron Fist stories that I'd want to see them adapted to, and clearly they can't write something original for the screen because that season in Defenders was awful.
Different regime, different management. I know you and me love Mike Coulter from his time from The Good Wife as Lamont Bishop. So that's you and me, Andre, are the eyes are just already, you know, we're biased. So Mike Coulter is always will be my Luke Cage, but he'll also be a badass gangster in The Good Wife. But I digress. John, what are your thoughts?
I'm interested. I think they need to do some work. Like Defenders was back in 2017, so we've got a 4-year gap. I think this show would rely heavily, if they're going to keep the same two actors, they have to do, you know, the whole term bromance. They have to be really tight. So if they're going to reuse those two guys, I don't know. Like I've watched some interviews with them back from Defenders days. They didn't really click in those interviews, but who knows? It might have been late at night. It might have been like off camera or whatever. So if they have remained friends since 2017, then maybe we got something. Like I compare it to, if anyone watched Scrubs, Zach Braff and Donald Faison, they're like buddies, like to the end. They're like ride or die for each other. So if they can somehow emulate that type of relationship,
there's only two type of TV shows that's ever happened. It's Psyched with you know, with Roday and Dule Hill. Like that relationship also cannot be replicated. Like if you watch any episode of Psyched,
it's hard. If they can
really
somehow create that chemistry, like if those two actors can't do it, like you definitely have to do this.
You gotta throw them in the desert and have them be friends for 3 years. Like that stuff doesn't happen overnight.
Quarantine them together. Like they need that chemistry. But they should definitely, if they do it, they should definitely fast forward. I don't want to see their relationship like growing. I want them to already be homies, and they should go straight into the Heroes for Hire era where they're trying to either run a business or get it rolling and stuff like that. I think they should go definitely into the more comedy element and definitely have some fun action. So yeah, I'm interested.
Rob?
So if I could reach through the interweb and smack John for wanting to keep Finn Jones as Danny Rand, I would.
That did a better job at Defenders.
That might be the most stupidest thing you've ever said.
Give a chance. They threw him in season 1. He didn't
I'm
have
all
a
good
chance.
for Mike Coulter, but listen, here's the reality: is that they're not gonna keep those actors. They're definitely not bringing back Finn Jones as Danny Rand, Iron Fist. I think what will happen is, you know, Andre had said, you know, you're going to have to give it a couple years. Let's see. I bet you Marvel's going to wait to see how Shang-Chi does reception-wise. I think as much as I would like to see, I felt like that was an Ed Brubaker story, Andre. I could be wrong. But the history of the
that was the Battle of the Realms.
Immortal Iron Fist.
But I think probably the easiest way for Disney Plus to get into it is to do the Heroes for Hire, where these characters are already established. You kind of get some backstories and then split off individually to do the individual history, like, you know, a 6-episode issue.
I don't think they need to tell the origins again.
Sorry?
I don't think they need to tell the origins.
They do, because they don't want to associate with the other one.
Right. But I think the easiest way is you do the Heroes for Hire, have them together established, and then you break off and do a backstory for each of them. But yeah, this is not coming anytime soon. We don't even have to worry about anybody casting anybody, or we don't have to worry about Finn Jones begging for his job back. So you continue writing your fan letters, John, but that's not happening. And
Rob
season 2, he stepped it up.
Here's
no,
the thing,
he didn't.
John. Rob was not surprised that Finn Jones was British, because you could tell on the show that you're like, oh yeah, you're British.
Listen, there is a scene in that first series where he was fighting somebody, this guy in a warehouse. And that scene, which was only 30-something seconds long, 27 edits, because he didn't know how
First series though, right? First series. Yeah, he didn't have time to train, apparently.
Okay, so that's on the fault of everybody else, but the guy is not a great actor to be able to. He's not Danny Rand. Like, so let's put a proper individual in that role. Let's put somebody, of Asian American descent in that role. Let's do something to make it a proper Danny Rand, representation.
John, your boy was number 2.
What's that?
Louis Tan?
No, he was in
I
talks.
would take Louis
And
Tan.
Louis Tan
as
was
Iron
in
Fist.
talks, and then
Right.
and then they're like, oh, because he's mixed, and it was like, okay, this could be it. And then they're like, no, we got to go with Danny, and then he became the drunken whatever.
And he was probably the best part of season 1 of that entire show, and he was only in it for like a couple of minutes. So screw it all. We're not going to get anything anytime soon.
And here's the most, I guess the bat is like, because they're filming Shang-Chi, like, wouldn't it be awesome if Iron Fist was just there for this tournament fight that's happening? This Mortal Kombat style, like, he's just there, but he doesn't have to
Both
fight.
of them could be.
Frankly,
Both
he
of them
wouldn't.
could be.
He wouldn't lose to anyone anyways if he was there, because he's a fighting machine. Like, he couldn't lose, so he couldn't be in the tournament, but he's just there.
No, but but imagine though that you actually have like a blood sport style tournament where you have Iron Fist and you have Luke Cage there, and Cage tells him you got to hold back. Like, we're doing it for investigative purposes, and that's your backdoor entry into the Disney Plus series in 2 years.
This is blood sport. Luke Cage would be your Duke, right? Is that what you're saying?
That's right. Put up your Dukes.
Frank Dukes.
Kumite.
Yeah. As long as Shang-Chi doesn't end up on the ground.
Ignore the fact that Frank Dukes was super exposed for lying about that entire thing.
Let's not forget that the Duke's best friend, who's like, anytime, any place, was in Animal House. I'm like, how is he a fighter? How is he here?
Jackson.
Revenge of the Nerds.
Revenge of the Nerds. Like, how did he get here? He's not a fighter. Like, I so many problems.
At any rate.
So yeah, you don't want.
That's my thoughts on it. Whatever.
Okay, so as we wrap up on the mixed bag, I want to give everyone an opportunity to offer up some sort of media that you would recommend that people watch during, as the weather is changing, the darker of days. So Andre, do you have a show or a book or something you want to recommend to people before we leave?
Wow. Okay, so I'm gonna do 2 really quickly.
One, or I'm muting you.
All right. Lovecraft Country. I've watched the first 4 episodes of it, and it's got to be decent if I got past the first one, and they're long episodes. So
Andre, you got past the 4 episodes of Mandalorian because we forced you. So you gotta keep on past 4 without being forced.
But I'm enjoying what I'm seeing in this show, Lovecraft Country.
Awesome. Rob?
It's heavy at times, though.
What do you have to recommend? Oh,
Bosh.
I got him off guard. Oh, I don't know if he doesn't know what to say.
No, I was trying to
What was
think
the question again?
I was trying to think about what's that?
What's the question again?
What was the question again?
Yeah, I got nothing.
Classic John line. pull back around. I'll get something. Turn back around.
I got nothing. So I would, you know what? Right now I'm currently watching Bosch. It's on Amazon Canada Amazon Prime in the US as well. It's on Crave.
Based off a book.
I watched 86 episodes of The Sopranos over 22 days. I needed something to change up. I watched a couple documentaries. Action Park, Class Action Park on Crave or on HBO. You should watch that. It's good.
No, I'm muting you.
I snuck it in, but Bosch is a great. I'm on season 2. It's a lot of fun. It's a good cop show. Good to watch that.
I expect more from you. Well, actually, I don't expect anything from you, Rob. I'm glad Andre falls and listens to instructions. John, what do you have to recommend?
Quick shout out to Young Justice. I think we forgot to mention it earlier. I revealed that the new season's going to come out. You can watch season 3 on Stack TV. But I would recommend anything comic-wise, anything that.
Well, that's one. You said Young Justice. That's.
I was just mentioning it because we forgot to talk about it earlier. All right, fine. Watch Young Justice seasons 1 and 2 really hot, and the seasons 3 Outsiders, and then get ready for.
Your microphone is really low. We can't hear you.
Yeah, it might be on Netflix, John. Still. No, I didn't forget it. I just there wasn't much. Anyway,
it was just the title. Yeah. Okay.
Stu, your microphone's really low. We can't hear you as well. I don't know if you've hit a button.
No. My recommendation right now is listen to the Sandman audio books that came out. I talked about before. 20 of the comics or audiobooks is online. So if you are like me and are reliving your childhood past, you can buy the trades and go through the books with the narration. It's pretty much
Follow
spot
along.
on. It's as if you're a real old guy like me, it's your Teddy Ruxpin style. Like he reads the book and you turn the page. The voice acting is tremendous and it is great. So if you have a chance to do Sandman, buy the first trades, 20 issues, and then have the narration go, it is a really great experience, especially if you don't like the moving comics that are kind of weird. My wife can't do that very well, so maybe I recommend listening to the audiobooks and then turning the pages and be able to fill it out yourself. So it is a super great time. Okay, so that is my recommendation.
Stu, before we end, I just want to give a big shout out to our buddy Timbo Slice, who's been on the show. The guy just got married this past weekend.
Oh,
I just wanted to give a big shout out to Tim.
Yes.
So, so congratulations, Tim, and welcome to misery.
Don't listen to Rob. Being married is awesome. It's the best time ever. I would never change that in the world. Also, that I get to torment my wife with my beard, so now she can't go anywhere.
And everybody else.
Yes. I'm always trying to do the Obi-Wan. I'm like fighting the Obi-Wan thing where I'm like, yes. In Star Wars, you know how he does this and listens? He's like, ooh, yes, the Force, you say. And just like doing the beard. Okay, so awesome. Great news, Tim. Handshakes all around. John, Andre, where can they find you more on the internet?
Yeah, so Heroes World Online on the Facebook, on the Instagram. We do have a Twitter set up, Heroes World Pod. And then, Andre's got the physical store info.
Andre's distracted.
Yeah, we are
watching you play with your beard.
Heroes World, 8601 Warden Avenue, just outside of the GTA. Lots of parking, amenities nearby, so you can always tell your significant other or your parents that you are going to buy groceries because there's a No Frills in the plaza, and then you just scoot over and get your comics, your board games, your card games, your statues, your action figures, and just say, what? I also bought bread at the No Frills. So, Hey, lots to do, lots to see at the store. So come by, say hello. We'd love to see you there. And we are open regular hours, and you can come on in.
And again, if you're not nearby, you can go to sales, John? Sales Heroes World?
Sales.heroesworld@gmail.com, or contact us on any of the social media. We'll get back to you and we can arrange whatever you need.
Whatever your COVID needs are, ship it out to you if you feel uncomfortable coming to the store. I believe you guys still have gift cards, so if you want to buy them and give it to your friends and family, then they can peruse and buy stuff on their own. So I recommend that as well. Gift cards are great. So please support your local store. And if you are in the GTA or especially in York region, support John and Andre. So that's very nice. Rob, where can they find you on the internets?
I'm at Rob Gadet on Twitter and Instagram, and something wicked this way comes in the next week or so for John and I. So that's all I'm going to say about that. But for those who've been watching the Facebook live feeds, something new is coming, maybe. And also big congrats to the Heroes World guys for the nomination of the Joe Shuster Award. So for Retailer of the Year. So I just wanted to throw that out as well. I'm all full of the good news. I have to counterbalance the crap with one.
Oh, you're full of it.
I was going to mention it, Rob, but I'm glad you did because I was going to bring it up.
Okay. Sorry, Stu.
No, it's good. It's good. You have to do some good stuff, because all your takes are questionable.
Looking forward to the Stuck in the Tree episode.
Yeah, Stuck in the Tree. Yeah,
you know what? It's going to be Superman rescuing some poor child from that beard.
I challenge people that listen to this podcast to find the worst storyline from Smallville. Let us do a quest to find the worst. Like, I know they were trapped in a bus. I know they were trapped in many. I know he was hung up in a tree. No, he was it the cross or was it a tree? What was it?
Because in the cornfield, the scarecrow.
A scarecrow? Yeah, there was that. There are things. Anyways, so thank you all for your support. Likes, please comment below on your takes. Whether you want a Luke Cage, Iron Fist, whether you want Wonder Woman now or later, your thoughts on fandom, all your things. We will respond back to you And by we, John, I just smile and nod throughout the whole situation. So thank you all for listening, watching, supporting us, like, smash, yada, yada, yada. And be safe out there, people. See you later.
Yeah.
Peace.
All right, see ya.